You wrote a piece in the New York Times at the beginning of June entitled The Boycott That Separated Me from My Neighbors. And it was about your criticism of this boycott of the Park Slope Food Co-op by folks who didn't want it to stock Israeli products. And I would love to just hear you talk about what point you were trying to get across there.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I think you and I both know that boycotting is a long longstanding important mechanism for trying to register protest, and it's a nonviolent approach to trying to make change. And so on its face, I totally understand why people wanted to boycott Israeli products. What is happening to the Palestinians is urgent and abominable, and the Palestinian people deserve self-determination and freedom and safety immediately and forever. And I work on that all the time. I speak about it all the time. Um, and what I know is that the global BDS movement has as its origins and as its like dominant agenda, though it's a dispersed thing, the elimination of Israel as a Jewish state, and even more like an eliminationist agenda, such that like PACB, the academic part of the boycotts groups like Standing Together, which are Israelis and Palestinians who are putting their lives on the line, putting their bodies on the line to fight for equality and against the oppression of Palestinians, and for a democratic Israel, and for a Palestinian state, and for a reality where Palestinians would have safety and freedom. The BDS movement boycotts a lot of the people, to me, who are the hope, the solution, the people on the ground who are working to change conditions in a way that embraces the humanity and the value of the lives of all 7 million Jews and 7 million Palestinians, all of them. Those people are getting boycotted. And so I think many people in the Jewish community in Park Slope who are part of the co-op and the larger community know that and see BDS as anti-Semitic for that reason, because they see it as holding up the humanity of Palestinians while not holding up the humanity of the Jews who live in Israel. Now, I gave two sermons about this, one before the vote, one after the vote, and then wrote the op-ed. And I want to be really clear that I think that a vote for the boycott is not an anti-Semitic act necessarily at all. But I do think that the whole conversation is awash in anti-Semitism, as it is also awash in Islamophobia and racism and xenophobia. And I think that a lot of times people are unaware of the ways that anti-Semitism is shaping the conversation. And I was a member of the co-op, and I worked to try to stop this and to tell people why I was against it, even though I, was arrested in front of the Israeli consulate, like, why I opposed the BDS movement. And, it wasn't even close. Like, the vote was overwhelming in favor of the boycott. And I found that to be painful and discouraging. And I think I think the global BDS movement is a colossal and grievous mistake, because it is upholding a narrow nationalism that upholds the national aspirations of the Palestinian people, but not the national aspirations of the Jewish people. And right now, anything that is only for one people, I think, is harmful, because what we need is to break down whether, like, the idea that you're either pro-Palestinian or pro-Israeli.
So my understanding is the BDS movement has three calls, basically three goals. It wants to boycott, it's three demands essentially. It wants to boycott, sanction, divest until Israel ends its occupation of territories taken in 1967. It gives equality to Palestinian citizens, and it allows refugees to return as guaranteed under international law. So which of those three, or all three, do you find objectionable?
So, Omar Barghouti,
Mhm.
one of the founders, was
Mhm.
asked whether the boycott would continue after there would be if there were to be a Palestinian state,
Right,
would the boycott continue? And he said yes.
right.
And presumably that was about the right of return.
Mhm.
So The
And
idea,
maybe also equality for Palestinian citizens.
okay, okay. So I am fully in support of full equality for Palestinians and Israelis, and I mean
Mhm.
Jews and Palestinians, full equality. Um, and passionately, like
Mhm.
passionately for that. The idea that Palestinians should, in addition to having, God willing, let it be, that there is a
Mhm.
free and equal state
Mhm.
next to a free and safe Jewish state, like both things, that then Palestinians should be able to continue to move into the Jewish state until there is not a Jewish state.
Mhm.
To me, that is eliminationist.
Mhm.
Like if we're going to talk about two states someday, which
Mhm.
right now I think it's hard to see the way there,
Mhm.
everybody's going to have to make compromises about who lives where, like
Mhm.
everybody. And so the idea that only Palestinians should be able to move into whatever place in the land that their ancestors were from, but Jews should not be able to do that. I think that that's not right. I think that both people's history is real. Both people's claim to the land is real. And what we need is a generosity in which neither side is taking a maximalist position. Both sides are saying, we have a right to be here, you also have a right to be here. And the BDS, the global BDS movement, does not say that.
You're saying that the globalist movement says that Israeli Jews don't have a right to live in Israel-Palestine?
That's, I think, or a right to self-determination in Israel-Palestine. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I guess I think it depends on what we mean by self-determination. You said that you thought there should be equality between Jews and Palestinians everywhere. And I think that the argument I think folks there would make, I mean, the argument that I would make is that there is that the idea of a Jewish state, a state that has a special obligation to Jews when not all the people in the country are Jews, is in very serious tension with the idea of equality under the law. I mean, if Donald Trump said, we're going to say America is a Christian and democratic state, we would be the first to say, we think there's a problem between saying that you can
Yeah.
be both of those things.
Yeah, America is a very special place. But as you know, there are many Muslim countries in the world and many Christian countries in the world, and many of them have done a good, some of them, let's say, have done a good job of making civil rights a reality for minorities. And that is quite possible. And if there was a Palestinian state, if you think that there should be a
Mhm.
Palestinian state,
Mhm.
um, do you think that Jews should be able to move into that Palestinian state until they're a majority?
Yes, I mean, I think that Jews, I think that a state should have, I don't believe that states should have immigration policies that are based on trying to maintain a certain demographic majority. That's why I disagree with Tucker Carlson here in the United States.
So the thing is that we have a situation, I think, both for Jews and for Palestinians. First of
Mhm.
all, I don't think it's even for us to decide what the governance of the people
Mhm.
who live there is. I think they should be able to decide. But I think if you
Mhm.
ask them, I
Mhm.
think the people who live there now,
Mhm.
certainly the Jews would like a place that is a haven for Jews on planet Earth, given that we
Mhm.
were almost annihilated less than a century ago,
Mhm.
given that we're at a time of extreme violent anti-Semitism. I think
Mhm.
that a clear majority of the Jews there would want to be able to have a place that's a haven for them. And the Palestinians, I believe, many of them are looking for a Palestinian state that would be primarily characterized by Palestinian culture and language and Palestinian majority. And I think that it is quite possible to have states that are like that are neither narrow nationalistic, supremacist versions of that, which, by the way, right now, Israel's government is narrow, nationalistic,
Mhm.
supremacist,
Mhm.
attempting ethnic cleansing. Okay. But that is not how it has to be. It's not what the Declaration of Independence said it would be. And I think a Palestinian state also, I would hope, would not be narrow and nationalistic and supremacist and Islamist and, but that it would make space for minorities, for Christian minorities, for Jewish minorities. So I think that is quite possible. And I also don't think that, I think at this moment, picturing any of those futures and how we get there is hard. It's hard to see. But what I know about right now is that any agenda that only upholds one side, that
Mhm.
only says that that only cares about the needs of one side
Mhm.
is harming the situation.
But I mean, one side lacks basic rights and the other
Yes,
side has those basic
yes,
rights. So to
yes,
focus on saying we want to have a boycott effort in order to put pressure so that the people who don't have rights will have them, I don't think that doesn't suggest to me that necessarily means you don't care about the rights of other people, right?
it
It means
doesn't.
that you're focused on the people who don't have rights.